Hi, my name is Tysiak. I'm a stained glass artist living in Fenelon Falls, Ontario. It is something that I've been doing for almost 30 years. I'm a graduate from the University of Guelph, Bachelor of Arts program, and while in university, I did take some elective courses in designing clothing, and also art. It was something that I always enjoyed doing as a kid. When projects were to be made at school, the title page was always my favorite part, the cover. I grew up in a century home where we had lots of leaded glass panels in our windows, and I would find myself standing in front of those glass panels and looking through the colored glass and looking through the beveled glass. And it was always magical to me. After I finished my university degree, I did end up taking a night course in how to do stained glass, and the bug has hit me since then. It's something that I enjoy doing. I don't mind the grunt work, dirty work, never having a really nice manicure, always bandages on fingers, but everything that I learned as a kid, from sewing to the art courses, it all blends into designing, cutting, and building these glass panels. And it's something that I still enjoy doing to this day. What inspires me about the stained glass? A lot of things. Sometimes a photograph will inspire me. Sometimes it's somebody that comes in with a box full of broken pieces of a window that used to belong in Grandma and Grandpa's house. It could be filthy and dirty, and when you clean it up and polish it up and rebuild it, it becomes something beautiful. I hesitate to ever throw away old glass, because glass manufactured 100 plus years ago is not manufactured anymore. It has its own style, look, and color, and it's always fun to incorporate that into new pieces. So quite often, when I do have restoration jobs to do, the glass that ends up being on the table that's dirty and unusable, I cut into smaller pieces and I make them into the little birds on a wire. So I tend to use a lot of that older glass or pieces of glass and use them to make small things like birds and hearts, or just mosaic style pieces. You never know how you're going to be inspired. I had a chance to go into the Cockburn Street Gallery where they were doing an art show, and one of the paintings there was called The Meadow, done by an artist in Peterborough. And it was the jumping point for me. I thought it just drew me in, the colors, the style. So I contacted the artist and asked her if I could use that piece as an inspiration point, and she said yes, of course. So that was a piece that, one of the pieces of glass within that piece still had a Made in Western Germany sticker on it. So I have glass in my stash, being in this for 30 years, and some of those stashes of glass became mine when they were unloaded by other artists that could no longer do stained glass. So it was fun for me to use that glass in that panel. And this past weekend, it sold to a couple who were celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary. So I was sad to see it go, but happy to know where it was going. And that's where the joy comes in when you're doing the pieces. I had another young customer come in and ask me about the lone pine stained glass piece that I made, which was mimicking a lone pine tree in Parry Sound. And I used a geode as part of the rock formation. And when we were talking about, oh, I could make you another one because that one sold, she mentioned that she was getting married in Parry Sound. And when I showed her the geodes that we would be using for that piece, they had Made in Brazil stickers on them. And she looked at me and she goes, Janet, my fiance is from Brazil. So it seemed like it was just the right time for us to meet, and I'll be making a beautiful piece for their wedding with the lone pine and pieces of geodes from Brazil. Those are the things that inspire me. I find that when I'm finished a project, there's a lot of glass on my table, and I'll quite often use that glass without, I hate putting things away, that's a chore. So I will just start a new project then and there, and I'll start taking that glass and making it into a mishmash of glass, but there's still style to it. It's not a pattern, but it's still something fun that I enjoy putting together. And I think a lot of people enjoy seeing that too. And it's the whimsy part of it. But I also make stained glass that really mimics things. Like I've done a lot of loons over the years, and I love making them as well. With being on the lake, you hear them, you see them when you're out on the lake. And it brings them joy to see them too. So, and I make them sometimes in all clear and other times in a black and white, true to their colors as well. Inspiration comes from everywhere. It really does. The inspiration I get for my jewelry comes from the same places as well. Sometimes I love using gemstones, freshwater pearls, Swarovski crystal, even glass beads. And I put them together quite often by color, and those colors sometimes are chosen because I see an advertisement in a magazine and I love the shoot, the photo shoot, whether it's bright pinks and greens and purples or it's a muted earth tones. That sometimes is a starting point. I will use that piece of paper, that picture, and pull my beads to mimic those colors because I can tell, I know that I like that color combination, and that's where it will work. Sometimes the jewelry inspiration comes from people who hand me pearls that were in a drawer for 20 years, never being used. And so then I can crochet them and work them into a beautiful cuff or into a necklace that their daughter or granddaughter would wear. Or I've even made them into designs on the mother of the bride shoes or in hair pieces for the bride. So it's kind of fun that sometimes people show me things and they want something out of it, but the inspiration is there to make it better, make it beautiful, make it last. The jewelry, yeah, I've always loved looking at sparkly stones, and so naturally I gravitate to gemstones, and I love using them for their natural color, their natural shape and size. I won't ever get sick of doing that either. The stained glass process starts with a pattern. When you have the pattern set, then you need to start picking the glass that will work for that pattern, whether it's colorful or whether it's all styles of clear with different textures of glass. Once you have the colors in the glass that you're using for that panel, you end up cutting them all out, each piece separately, and putting that panel back together on the table roughly in the pattern that you're using. Each piece of glass then has to be ground around the edges with a diamond bit grill head in water so that you can smooth the edges. From there, you wrap each piece with a sticky back copper tape so that each piece needs to have that copper surrounding it in order for the solder to hold those pieces together. And once you solder everything together, it has to be cleaned, and then you can put a patina on it. So when you're soldering, it's a silver line that you see, and quite often that silver can be shiny. And it's useful when you want to do Christmassy things with shiny silver, but quite often I will put a black patina on it because then it mimics the lead that you would see, and it makes it's like looking at a children's coloring book. Every picture has black lines around each picture, and that sets the colors and it sets the style and the pattern. And that's basically what you're doing is then putting all your pieces back together in that puzzle form and then finishing it off. And then the final touch is, when it's all cleaned again, is to wax it, just like your car. You wax on, buff off, so that it's clean and ready to go. The jewelry is a process where I have fine wire that I load up with gemstones and the beads and the crystals. And then as I'm crocheting, I'm bringing those stones and beads up and I crochet them as I go. I take all of those strands and I quite often braid them together. So sometimes the necklaces will have 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 pieces that I braid together. And that becomes the portion of the necklace that you would see around the neck. And then I would add chain to that as well. My studio here in Fenelon Falls is open by appointment only. You can call me at 705-928-4341 or 705-887-2229. My jewelry and my glass can also be found at the Fenelon Station Gallery throughout the summer months. I'm one of 15 artists there that showcase our work. Sometimes at different shows you'll see me, but if you're ever needing to contact me, you can also contact me by email at jtysiak@i-zoom.net. So that's jtysiak@izoom.net.